My name is Oraynab Jwayyed, as he mentioned, and I'm here to discuss the 5 obstacles that hold divorced mothers back from progressing financially, and how I went from a mother of 3 to a money management consultant. I graduated in 2009 with an MBA. It was at that pivotal time when the American economy had stumbled. As my professors were to warn my graduating class, it was going to be a tough time to find a job. In fact, it took me nearly a year to find one, but I was among the fortunate ones. I had a former career to fall back on, and I had just published my first academic paper before graduating. But I still faced several obstacles. I was an older adult, returning to the workforce as a full-time working mother. I didn't have a business background, and my marriage was falling apart. But I kept at it until I landed my first corporate job. That lasted 5 years, which is impressive for corporate standards. And if you've ever worked at one, you understand why. It was at this time that I published my first book, Financial Literacy for Women, to expose them to their dire circumstances with saving and investing. Then it was my way of applying what I was learning. Because even though I had those business school degrees, I didn't know how to manage my own money. Through my work, I met women from all over who were going through divorce. These were women who at one time held jobs in engineering and management, but left the workforce to raise their kids. Now they were facing divorce, and they were just as scared as I was. Through my work with them, I discovered that although we came from different backgrounds, we had so much in common. We had relied on our spouses' incomes, but now we were starting over financially, even though we didn't know where or how to start. We had left the workforce years ago. We're starting on new careers, but we weren't earning enough to afford a household. So I published my second book, Starting Over, a practical guide for women after a money crisis, to reach out to others like me. And as I continue to work on behalf of these women, I look for newer ways to help them. I'm pleased to say that I'm doing well 3 years down the road. I've learned to manage my money and to save enough to sustain me now and in retirement. I even bought my kids a new home. But that's not the case. For 8.3 million single working mothers out there who on average earn $24,000 per year, that is below the poverty level. And there's plenty of statistics out there that show why women aren't progressing financially, but I'm here to share personal stories, ones I've had with other women through my work, because it's only through these stories where the real lessons are learned. I met one lady at a basketball league our daughters were playing in. We first met on the stands during practice. By the 3rd day, we were sitting by each other and discussing our girls. Turns out, she once worked as an engineer but left the workforce to raise her 2 daughters. One day, her husband announced he was filing for divorce. He wasn't interested in reconciling or even pursuing therapy. She just wasn't the career-oriented, ambitious woman she once was, and he wanted out. He was the sole breadwinner of the household as she spent her days tending to the house and driving the girls from one activity to another. At one time, she worked for an impressive company, but left once her daughter's activities started exhausting her. It was tough, keeping up with a demanding job and her daughter's needs. So she gave up a good salary to spend more time with her girls. Aside from her marriage falling apart, her most devastating realization was knowing that she would have to give up their home, her kids' home. Within a matter of months, she went from a comfortable living to a meager one, having to rely on part-time jobs she managed to find through the grace of family and friends. On our last day on those stands, I cried as she related her ordeal. Once an outgoing woman with an infectious smile, she became withdrawn, with a look of strain sealed on her face that I'd never seen before. When we spoke, she was in despair, but hopeful that her faith in community would sustain her. She managed to find her first job at a nursing home, working as an office aide, earning minimum wage. It wasn't enough to pay for rent. She then moved on to another job that was nowhere near the skill set or experience she once held. Again, she settled for minimum wage. After a few years, she found her way in the education system at a time when teachers' aides were in demand. Last I spoke to her, she was taking a few classes to qualify for a better position and salary within the public school system. Several years down the road, her final words to me were, "It's getting better." I met another lady while offering financial literacy classes at a local shelter. She had 3 kids and was hiding from an abusive husband. She was a fiery woman with a keen intelligence rare for a woman of her background. She knew what she wanted and she went after it. Only her lack of education and financial stability held her back. She packed her bags and grabbed her kids one day when an altercation with her husband became too dangerous. It was the final straw. When I first met her, she had been at the shelter for about a year. Her time was coming up, and she had to transition to a normal living outside the shelter. So she found a job at an accounting firm and was even thinking of pursuing an accounting degree. Only the aging car she owned was getting too expensive to maintain, and she couldn't afford another. It was tough pursuing your big goals when you can't afford to drive to them. Add to that the impending expenses of paying for rent and taking care of a household outside the security of the shelter. On our last class, the director was trying to guarantee a donated car from a partner group. I never found out what happened to this woman after that day or her 3 children, but I do still think of them from time to time and wish them the best of luck. These are just 2 examples of women who have had to scrape and save after leaving their spouses to rebuild their lives. Through their experiences and the experiences of other women like them, I discovered 5 obstacles that hold women back financially. 1, low pay. Not only are women paid less than men, but they're paid less despite having the same education and skills. 2, quality care. It's just too expensive to afford quality care. 3, lack of savings. Most single mothers can't manage their own money, save enough for retirement, or earn enough to afford a household. 4, domestic work. Taking care of the house and the children is tiring, but someone has to do it. And many times, it's the women who do it alone. 5, domestic abuse. Controlling, manipulating husbands make it difficult to advance, especially when that abuse is verbal, and women are made to feel inferior and worthless. Helping women through these challenges should not be the responsibility of the government and advocates alone. Each one of you can help rebuild a woman's life so that she becomes financially independent. I can't believe the number of times I've heard someone say that they sensed or even knew that a woman was in some kind of trouble but chose not to intervene. Because that's what good neighbors and busy people do. They mind their own business. But what we're forgetting is that a woman in financial need becomes a financial burden on us all, somewhere down the road. If a single mother is not progressing financially, she and her kids become slaves to government assistance, which comes out of your pockets. If any woman is in physical danger, she becomes a warden to shelters already strapped thin from the lack of grants and dwindling donations. That's if she walks away. If she stays, medical costs that stem from her treatment become a burden on us all, especially if she doesn't have health insurance. Here's what we can do to help. Speak up to your politicians, your coworkers, your family, and friends. Don't forget to speak up when you're out with your boys. Speak up against a friend who shoves his wife, who cheats on her and lies to her. Someday, it could be your daughter. Speak up at home, at work, or any time the opportunity arises where you can speak up for what's right. And if speaking up puts you in harm's way, take that extra step and report the incident to the right authorities. You can also use your influence. Believe it or not, we all have a little influence to change a needy woman's life, regardless where we stand in the chain of command or economic and social ladders. If you're the boss, hire and pay women their worth. Extend equal opportunities to them and the option to balance life and work. It can be as simple as understanding their need to take a few hours off to take care of their personal responsibilities. Make it a genuine effort to help and not a lip service incentive to make yourself and your company look good. If you have political connections, advocate for equal pay and against domestic violence. Learn the signs of domestic abuse. We've all been there when we sense that a woman is being mistreated or abused. When in doubt, use your intuition. Report your hunches, even if they're wrong. It may save a life or change the course of a child's life for the better. If you're a parent, teach your children the importance of respecting and supporting each other equally as human beings, and not just because they are male or female. Genuine mutual respect is key to building future relationships with peers and intimate partners. More importantly, stop making excuses. Boys will not always be boys. We should make every effort to raise gentlemen. And finally, if you're a student, take the time to learn about the challenges that single mothers face by writing a paper or volunteering. Every contribution is important, no matter how small. Awareness and intervention are key, and changing a woman's life is as easy as using your resources, connections, and skills to help improve the quality of her life. Research shows that a financially independent, self-sufficient woman is key to improving the lives and opportunities of future generations. It is women who share their knowledge and their skills with their kids. A woman who is financially empowered has the power to improve the wealth of nations. Make it your duty to be a part of that change. Thank you.